negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the event, in the end, rather, she made a decision to walk away from the show.
But don't ask me the details, because I'm not going to tell y'all the details. That's none of y'all business. Oh, and I don't know the details.
he made it sound like something wild happened.
Correct.
And here's the wildest part. She's got private meetings, leaked conversations, screenshots, and messages that directly tie Stephen A. Smith to the drama. Now everyone's asking, did he really sell Molly out for money, or is she gearing up to destroy his entire empire herself? Things didn't fall apart overnight. We have to rewind to September 15th, 2025, the exact day Molly's world flipped upside down. Picture this. She walks into work like it's any other Monday, coffee in hand, ready for another long day of debates and camera lights. But waiting on her desk is a letter. And not the kind that says, "Congrats" or "You've earned a raise." Oh no. This one was cold, emotionless, and final. It told her she'd be losing her job by December. Just like that, 10 solid years of managing fiery personalities, dealing with tantrums, and keeping oversized egos under control, gone in a single envelope. The woman who kept First Take balanced was suddenly disposable, treated like background noise. And to make it sting even more, they didn't even let her announce it herself. Her exit was being planned behind closed doors. And she had no idea the people she trusted most were about to turn on her.
According that it's supposed to be the end of the year, Molly by action says it's right now. Instead of I'm leaving now, I'm leaving right now. She made it immediate. And then Stephen A. Smith makes the statement. Now, interesting once again, see, peep all these differences, right? These contradictions in terms of how they usually move and how they're moving with Molly. Max Kellerman left. Stephen A. Smith didn't even show up for the last day. Remember that? Interesting. And we all know that typically they don't talk about talent when they're gone. They just say, thank you for your services and we wish you well. This is a little different for many reasons. So when they're trying to paint it, it looks a lot.
The entire sports world went into meltdown when news broke that Molly's contract negotiations had completely collapsed. Every major outlet blasted the same headline: Molly Qerim set to leave ESPN after talks fall apart. One minute she's doing her job like always, and the next, boom, her name is trending everywhere. That night, she jumped on Instagram, clearly heartbroken, and dropped a statement that left fans speechless. She wrote, "Now that the news came out earlier than I intended and not in the way I hoped," and that one line hit everyone hard. You could feel her pain through the screen. 10 years of blood, sweat, and effort poured into building First Take into a powerhouse, gone in a flash and in front of the entire world. Something was definitely off behind the scenes. But the real shocker came the next morning when Molly was nowhere to be found on First Take. No farewell, no goodbye moment, just silence. It turns out she didn't stick around to finish her contract. She walked out on the spot. That move left ESPN scrambling like never before. The network had no clue she'd flipped the script that fast. And now they were the ones panicking, trying to fix a situation already blowing up in their faces. And ESPN's response? It only made everything look even more suspicious. Burke Magnus, the president of ESPN, released a super polished statement saying they respected Molly's decision and wished her the best moving forward. But everyone could feel the coldness behind those words. He didn't mention how sudden it was, didn't acknowledge her decade of service, just a generic goodbye, like she was some temp worker. That silence said everything. You don't treat a 10-year veteran like that. Something was definitely off. The whole thing felt too rushed, too icy, too personal. That's when Stephen A. Smith's name suddenly got dragged into the mix. Insiders started whispering that this wasn't just a corporate decision. This was an emergency exit, and Stephen might have played a part in it. Former ESPN host Marcellus Wiley even went live and dropped some serious insight. Fans were fixated on one thing: why would Molly vanish like that? She showed up Monday all smiles, then by Tuesday morning she was gone. No farewell segment. No final sign-off. Just straight up vanished from the show she helped build. And then came the moment that really set the internet on fire. Stephen A. appeared on First Take the very next day, sitting there alone like nothing happened.
Is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But it's not as if I know all the details.
That move spoke volumes. Suddenly, it became clear this wasn't just about a failed contract. Molly hadn't just been betrayed by ESPN. She had been betrayed by her own co-host, the man she thought had her back for 10 solid years. When Stephen A. sat in that chair the next morning, you could feel the tension through the screen. He looked uneasy, fidgeting, trying to explain why the woman who'd sat beside him for a decade had suddenly vanished overnight. His voice even cracked a little. There was emotion, sure, but what came next made everyone's eyebrows shoot up. He told the audience, to be clear, we have no business knowing the details of Molly's departure. And then, in the same breath, he said, I don't know the specifics. But seconds later, he launched into a breakdown of her contract negotiations, dropping insider details that only someone deeply involved would even know. The contradiction was loud, sloppy, and impossible to ignore. Fans were like, wait, how do you not know, but also know everything? The more he talked, the more suspicious it all sounded. It was almost like he'd been in the room when those decisions were being made. But here's where things got even stranger. Molly's silence hit harder than all of Stephen A.'s shaky explanations. She stayed calm, posted her farewell message on Instagram, and thanked the fans, the crew, and everyone she'd worked with except one person. She left out Stephen A.'s name completely. That small omission screamed louder than any official statement. Fans noticed instantly, flooding the comments with things like, "Where's Stephen A. in this?" and "She's telling us everything without saying a word." It was crystal clear. Molly wasn't just walking away from ESPN, she was walking away from him. And that's what sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Stephen A. Smith's name was the one she refused to mention, not once, not even in passing. To put that into perspective, when a host leaves a major show, they normally go out of their way to shout out their co-hosts. Remember when Shannon Sharpe left Undisputed? He spent nearly 10 minutes thanking everyone, dropping names, showing love. But Molly? She didn't say Stephen's name at all. That silence spoke louder than anything she could have written. After 10 years of sitting side by side, building one of the biggest sports talk shows in history, she couldn't bring herself to give him even a single mention. One industry insider summed it up perfectly. She didn't want to exit quietly. She wanted to make a statement.
The contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately. As you see from her Instagram post, her Instagram story.
And what better way to do it than this? Let the very man who allegedly betrayed her sit there live on air, forced to explain why she was gone. The irony was brutal. Stephen A. The loudest voice in sports media, was suddenly left speechless when it came to Molly. Rumors started flying fast. Betrayal, jealousy, backroom deals. But no one knew the full truth yet. Still, once Stephen A. kept talking, things started slipping out. His tone changed. His stories didn't line up. And fans began connecting the dots. Every time he spoke, it became clearer. This wasn't just a business fallout. Stephen A. might have been the one who set Molly up from the very start. Now, here's where the story gets real messy. Because to understand why Molly turned on Stephen A., you have to understand just how much power he holds at ESPN. Stephen isn't just another face on camera, he's part of the inner circle. He's in those closed-door meetings where they decide who gets raises, who gets renewed, and who gets fired. When he speaks, executives listen. And that's why what happened next cut deep. Molly was reportedly earning around $500,000 a year. Not bad, right? Until you find out Stephen was cashing checks worth over $20 million annually. That's 40 times her pay. Even smaller names in sports media were pulling in bigger deals. So when her contract came up, she finally said she'd had enough. She wanted respect, fair pay and real opportunities. But instead of negotiating, ESPN shut her down completely. They basically told her to be grateful and move on. That's when everything blew apart and Molly decided she wasn't leaving quietly. And the first person in her line of fire? Stephen A. Smith himself. She started liking and retweeting posts, calling him a hypocrite. And one tweet went totally viral. It exposed his fake sympathy on air, where he pretended not to talk about her, yet perfectly described her situation word for word.
Comes out. That report comes out the next morning. Instead of Molly showing up to work, she puts out an Instagram post. And in that Instagram post, you guys remember, one thing she didn't mention was anybody by name, including Stephen A. Smith. Now, I've left a show or two before, and trust me, you're going to name some names when you leave that. Just think about Shannon Sharp when he left Undisputed. Goodness, it took about 10 minutes of all the names he dropped. That's my point. Molly didn't do that. So that lets you know already there's some friction behind it.
I'm watching, and I've been watching over the last several years, people in this business fall by the wayside because we forget that all of us ultimately answer to people. We don't get to define our own value. We don't get to define our own worth. We don't get to sit there and summarily say, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And guess what? I don't give a damn what anybody say unless you have the leverage to do it. Because business is all about.
And then came the line that broke the internet. Stephen said, "Some people lose everything because they overestimate their worth." That quote hit like a punch. Fans instantly knew who he was talking about, and that was the moment Molly decided she wasn't going to take it anymore. People caught the shade immediately, and from that moment, the whole story exploded online. The hypocrisy was too loud. Stephen A. Smith talking about humility? Please. Everyone remembered his own money battles. Every time he negotiated, it turned into a full-blown spectacle. Back in 2009, he was actually fired from ESPN for demanding more cash and later admitted his ego cost him that job. Fast forward to 2024, and he did it again, going on a media blitz comparing himself to Dak Prescott and claiming he deserved more. And now that same man was rumored to have betrayed Molly Qerim, the woman who sat beside him for years and helped him climb to the top. Fans were not having it. Social media went wild. Twitter, podcasts, YouTube, everyone was dragging him nonstop. And here's the strange part. Stephen A. hasn't said a single word since. It's like he knows opening his mouth now would only pour gasoline on a fire that's already burning hot. Meanwhile, Molly's silence isn't submission, it's strategy. She's not done yet. Not by a long shot. ESPN seriously underestimated her if they thought she'd fade away quietly. She's out for the truth. And when she finds out who is really behind her takedown, it won't just be Stephen A.'s reputation on the line, it'll be the entire network's. So, what do you think? Is Stephen A. finally getting a taste of his own medicine? Or is this drama just getting started? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next chapter in this story is about to get crazy. See you in the next one.